Hi guys, it's Dylan from Bijou Diamond Jewellery in London with another watch discussion video, and today we're going to look at the subject of my top 3 watches for around £2,000. Okay, so starting with number 3, we've got the Tudor Heritage Black Bay. Specific variation we're going to look at is the Burgundy 41mm version. So if we go back in time now to the early 1900s, Hans Wilsdorf, who founded Rolex, later on, a few years after he founded Rolex, he founded a company called Tudor, and it was basically a company that allowed people to buy into the similar designs that he was creating with Rolex. But not to the same price point. So it meant that a much bigger audience were able to access those same aesthetic looking watches. But those watches that he created with Tudor didn't have the same sort of precision and perfection and high level of material and craftsmanship that went into the Rolexes. It had lesser materials, lesser craftsmanship, or less strict margins for error. Overall, the watch wasn't as high quality as the Rolex, but still was a high quality product. And of course was then offered to the market at a much more reasonable price. He usually released watches similar time to when Rolex released a watch or a model. He would release kind of the Tudor version of that watch. So the specific one we're looking at was released in 1954, and that's the Tudor Submariner, which was a year after the Rolex Submariner was released. The Tudor Submariner looked incredibly similar. Again, as I mentioned before, just had slightly lesser quality materials, lesser precision than the Rolex variant. So skip quite a few years on now to 2012, we saw the release of the Heritage series of Black Bay watches. And Tudor got their inspiration for these new watches from the original Tudor Submariners, with those no crown guards, the big crowns, the same sort of proportions as the Tudor Submariner or the 1950s Tudor Submariner, and a few other points on the bracelet and other areas of the watch replicated that same original style. My personal favorite variation of the Black Bay or Heritage Black Bay series of watches from Tudor is the 58. And the reason why I prefer the 58 is because it's slightly smaller size at 39mm, whereas the standard Heritage Black Bay is 41mm. The 39mm is truer to the original Tudor Submariner released back in 1954, which was 37mm. And obviously the Tudor Submariner was based off the Rolex Submariner, which was 36mm. So this kind of, the 58 is a much truer original looking watch versus the newer style, the bigger style, the Heritage Black Bay. Another great thing about the 58 is that the retail price is less than the 41mm version. It's just over £2,000. However, the reason why I'm choosing the 41mm Burgundy as my specific watch for this position at number 3 on the top 3 list is because the Burgundy is the most affordable of all the Black Bay range in terms of aftermarket value. It doesn't fetch quite the same price that the other watches fetch. Some of them sell for over list price. In fact, most of them sell for over list price, especially the 58 that sells for considerably over the list price. I also really like the Burgundy. I think it's a really cool look, especially if you pair it with that kind of tarnished looking leather or their fabric straps. Of course, the bracelet looks really cool as well, and it's much truer to the original design. But personally, I prefer the strap options for that watch. And also they're slightly more affordable as well. You can definitely get one for just over £2,000. The reason why I am picking this one for number 3 for the best watches for around £2,000 is because I really love the original Submariner from 1953, the first Submariner released. I love the no crown guards and the big oversized crown on that watch, the kind of small slender design, kind of petite looking but at the same time really cool with that bezel, the aluminium bezel. It's just got a really interesting looking design. It's much more delicate than the current day Submariners, and I quite like that about that piece, about the original one. So obviously it's really cool that Tudor's gone back to kind of the original Tudor Submariner style, similar style obviously to the Rolex Submariner. So I love the heritage of that watch, and I like what Tudor's done there. I like the way that obviously Tudor and Rolex are connected, and it's nice that obviously Rolex would never go back in time and replicate that design again, because they want to keep moving forward and keep coming up with new materials and making the watch better and better. But Tudor's, you know, a slightly more relaxed, casual brand versus Rolex, and that allows them to play with older designs and come up with new, you know, variations of those older designs. So I think it's a great watch to have, especially at £2,000. It's a brilliant piece. If you can get it at the retail price, especially the 58, then you should be very happy, because that's an excellent watch. A lot of watch for the money. I love kind of the gold finish on that watch, on the dial, the kind of retro looking, the gilt dial as well with the print. It's just an overall really cool looking piece. The burgundy 41mm will be your best bet on the strap for getting it around £2,000. But if you're after a brand new one, then we can obviously source that for you here at Bijou Diamond Jewellery. We occasionally have Tudor Heritage Black Bay watches in stock with us, but they will be more around the £3,000 mark. Next, at number 2, we have the Rolex Oyster Precision. Specific variation we're looking at is released around the 60s, and the reference that I prefer and want to use for this comparison, or this lineup of the top 3, is a reference 6694, and that is the Oyster Precision with the date function as well. This goes for around £2,000 in the used market. If you can get a really nice one, maybe a little bit more than that, but really the average is around £2,000, and that is on a strap. You can also get this watch on a bracelet as well, which is a really nice look. And of course, you can also get the Precision without the date function if you want that more classic look. I absolutely love the Oyster Precision. It's such a beautiful classic watch, very clean dial, very simple, very much a Datejust looking watch, but just with a smooth bezel and maybe a little bit more of a classic proportions, a bit more of a dress watch style. I love it on the strap, more so than the bracelet. The reason why I say that is the bracelet is obviously quite a bit more money if you find a good one. The problem with the bracelet is because they used to use hollow links, unlike today where they use solid links, the hollow links can stretch and warp, and the shape can be ruined and distorted, especially with 50-60 years worth of wear. That can definitely put a lot of toll on that bracelet. And it is very common for pretty much all those watches to have a warped bracelet or misshapen bracelet, especially stretched in certain directions. So just bear that in mind if you're looking for the bracelet variation that is much more susceptible to dinks and damage, and probably is already quite damaged and warped from those 50-60 years worth of wear. We always recommend those older vintage style Rolexes on the strap, because obviously a strap is easily replaceable. You can change it up, change the look of the watch quite easily as well. This watch at 34mm is much smaller than today's standards of average watches. Average watches nowadays are around 40mm, and then some of them going much bigger than that. The trend nowadays is for much bigger watches. So people don't tend to really look at watches as small as 34mm, but back when this was released in the 60s, and people didn't necessarily think, oh, this is too small or too big, that was really kind of the standard size then. Didn't really matter what your wrist size was, that was kind of a nice average size. It's a very classic design, it's completely timeless. But if you have small wrists, then this is a stunning watch. It's an absolute classic, and it's so much watch for the money at £2,000. They're built beautifully. They're going to last you a very long time. You may be able to find some Datejusts, some vintage Datejusts and Explorer ones, and maybe some other Rolexes out there on eBay and other places, but really the watch you'll have the most success with is the Oyster Precision, and in my opinion that's the best watch without a doubt for around the £2,000 mark from Rolex. Okay, so now moving on to number 1. Number 1 we have the Omega Speedmaster Professional, specifically the Moonwatch. But the actual variation I'm going to look at for this number 1 spot is the Speedmaster Reduced, and you can get that for just under £2,000 or around the £2,000 mark. If we skip back in time now to look at some history, if we go back to 1957, which was when Omega released the full professional line of watches, which included the Speedmaster, the Seamaster and the Railmaster. And the Speedmaster was released around the 50s when lots of other brands like Rolex were releasing lots of chronograph watches with tachymeters, which were perfect for timing motor racing and other sports events. The watch was very popular around that time and was actually used by several astronauts up until it became the official moon watch in 1969, when it was officially recognized by NASA as a moon watch, or a tool to use on the moon for astronauts. And it was used for the first time on their Apollo 11 mission, and all the astronauts wore that moon watch on that Apollo 11 mission, and that's when it got named the Moonwatch, and it's officially certified even to this day by NASA to be worn on moon missions or in space. If you want to learn more about why that watch got its certification from NASA, the history and the process of getting that certification, then go check out my full review on the Omega Speedmaster. It's much more in depth than I will go into in this video. It'll tell you all about the features on the watch as well. This watch is absolutely iconic. It's one of the most iconic watches in the industry. It's incredibly important as well. Very important watch in the industry. It's one of the best watches around in the 60s, and still to this day, in my opinion, is one of the best watches in the industry as well. The Omega Speedmaster has many variations. So if you're looking for a used one for around £2,000, you will not be disappointed. There'll be plenty of options for you out there. The Speedmaster Reduced, like I said, is a definite, you'll definitely be able to get one for around £2,000, and a really nice one at that as well. But there will be some other variations that you'll be able to get as well. If you're looking for the newer style, which is the newer Moonwatch, the 42mm Moonwatch, which is what most of our clients go for if they're looking at the Moonwatch from Omega, then that from us is around the £3,000 mark, depending on what variation you go for. So why did I pick this for the #1 spot? Well, I think it's one of the most undervalued watches in the industry. I think it's an incredible piece for the money. I'm amazed that Omega doesn't bump up their prices, or this hasn't sold out more than it has. So I think really at £2,000, if you can get one of the newer style ones, then that's amazing. But really, the Reduced is such a cool watch. It's slightly smaller size at 39mm versus the 42mm Moonwatch now, or the current reference Moonwatch. I prefer the smaller size. I think it's a cooler looking watch when it's smaller. Fits my wrist better, but that's not to say that the 40mm doesn't fit smaller wrists nicely. It has really nice case proportions, which makes it look really nice on smaller wrists, or a big range of wrists actually. We have clients with a full range of wrists from very small to very big that wear this watch, and every single one of our clients that owns the Moonwatch never takes it off, and they own all of my Piguet watches, Rolex watches. They just obsessed with this Speedmaster. They wear it all the time. In fact, most of our clients that wear the Speedmaster actually wear it every single day. People totally fall in love with this watch, and it's not hard to see why. There's this sort of energy about the Speedmaster that's very hard to describe. You kind of have to try it on. I kind of tried to explain it in my Speedmaster review, but it kind of has this sort of energy, this sort of space-like feel about it, especially the dial with this kind of matte black, almost, it's not a jet black, it's almost like a grey feeling. And then you've got those white hands. It's got a really space-like feel to it. It almost feels like space travel or some sort of spacecraft dial. It's kind of just captured that era of the 50s and 60s. It's just a stunning watch. I hope Omega never changes it. It's just a beautiful watch as it is. If you can get that watch for around £2,000, that's an incredible piece. I love this watch on the bracelet, and I also love it on the strap. I don't think you can really go wrong with any variation of this watch. I personally prefer, and a lot of our clients prefer as well, the more classic style, just the standard Moonwatch style. No extra complications. I know Omega offers several other complications and variations and colours of this watch, but really the most popular variation is just the standard Moonwatch style. The black dial with the kind of white indices and hands. Thanks guys for watching. Let us know in the comments which of these top 3 you would own. Do you think I missed out one for the top 3 for around £2,000 mark? Let us know what other price ranges you'd like to look at. As always, if you're interested in any of the watches mentioned in this video, then don't hesitate to contact us. Our details are down in the description, and also at the end of this video. We'd be happy to call any of the newer models mentioned into stock for you. Occasionally we have the Omegas in stock and also the Tudors, but we can always order something in if we don't have it there and then.